Okay, hello everyone. It's 4 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Dr. Kimberly Campbell. I'm one of the psychologists at the Counseling Center. Thank you for joining this wellness workshop. The title is Pay Attention, Tips to Improving Your Focus. So might I suggest that you put your video on so that I can see you and you can see me, because guess what? That helps improve your focus. It helps you be more engaged. Look at those faces. Thank you for complying. I personally don't like to talk into black squares. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. There are many aspects to attention. There is the auditory aspect. And I'm getting a message over here, Lydia, that my internet is unstable. So hopefully um, I'll be okay. So the auditory is obviously what you hear, what you take in, the sounds that you hear. You, of course, want to ensure that you and take in auditory information is working properly. So if you ever had any thoughts about that, you might want to have an audiological exam, because sometimes it can be as simple or maybe not so simple as that, right? Your visual attention has to do with what you actually see. So if you're working on problems and you miss that suggests that the visual attention is problematic for you. Attention can be multifaceted. In other words, you can take in different aspects at the same time. So right now you are using your visual and your auditory attention skills, because you are looking at this PowerPoint and you are listening to me, and hopefully you are not listening to other things that are in your environment and you're just focusing on this. In order to be successful attending, it is important that you be engaged. And that is why I asked you all to put your videos on, because, you're less likely to kind of, purposely start reading a comic book when you're supposed to be paying attention here, right? And so you want to actively engage and force yourself. So we're having some challenges now, I would imagine, with attention because of COVID. You are not alone. We are all in this boat together experiencing it. What we do know, what students and my clients are reporting to me, anecdotally speaking, is that with COVID 19, you're experiencing or can experience a lack of motivation, just difficulty with focusing in general. So if you're watching your professors give PowerPoint lectures day after day after day, it can get difficult for you to focus. I put this slide here because I wanted to normalize the experience that you may be having, right, as a result of COVID-19. People are reporting restlessness, right? Just an inability to sit still. And frankly, I would recommend that you not sit still for hours at a time, that you get up at least every hour and move around and do something physical every 5 minutes or so. Boredom. This is particularly an issue with senior citizens, especially, but even with college students. They're just bored, okay? College, you're supposed to be hanging out with your friends in groups, and that is what we can't do right now, right? Students are reporting that, they, instead of kind of focusing on the lectures, they're just zoning out. Or if they go to sit down at their computer to type a paper, an hour later they look and there's nothing on the screen because they've typed nothing, and they can't account for the time that went by, right? Frustration, right? So frustration emerges, that feeling emerges when you have a goal and you experience an obstacle to achieving that goal. So obviously, if you have a paper due tomorrow and you've been zoning out and not able to write anything, you're going to experience some frustration because the goal is to turn the paper in on time. But you've met an obstacle, and that is the inability to focus. And of course, depression and anxiety, right? This sense of hopelessness that's happening with COVID 19. When is it going to end? Right? Not to mention the, frankly, grief that a lot of folks are experiencing because they've literally lost family members. All right. When you have that many people passing from COVID 19, somebody is going to feel sadness and loss, and that's all a part of it. The anxiety is the feeling that emerges when there is an unknown, right? As we have with COVID, we don't know when this is going to end. We don't know when we're going to get a vaccine that we all feel is safe enough for us to take, right? And so that unknown nature of this pandemic creates anxiety. And of course, if you come into the pandemic with an anxious way of being, an anxious style, an anxious way of understanding the world and being in the world, then that anxiety is just going to get worse. So you're all here in this particular workshop. There's 18 of you. How do you know that you struggle with paying attention? What's happening for you? Just type it in the chat real quick. Okay, now I did this on purpose because I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying. And one way to do that is to engage you in this conversation. So how can I engage you? By getting you to type into the chat. This is purposeful on my part. Thank you for, all right, so it looks like my internet is going in and out a little bit. Hopefully everybody is fine. We are not able to chat to everyone, only to you and to Lydia. Oh, that's too bad.
Yes, do you want me to, I can change that setting if you'd like me to.
Yes, please, Lydia, unless you want to read all the chats. Am I still cutting out? Am I still going in and out? Okay, that's good.
For me, it seems better now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eves.
And now everyone can use the chat.
All right, so multitasking during lectures. Yes, how tempting is that, right? So you can turn your mute off, turn your video off, and full close while you are listening to a lecture. Yes, absolutely. I know that I have a problem with studying overall because I'm not doing assignments ahead of time, okay? Kind of procrastination. Someone said they cannot focus enough. Uh-oh, they're coming in so fast. I gotta keep up. All right, let's see. Constantly checking their emails and text messages. They can't focus enough to get through a book or the material. Also have no motivation to do assignments. And basically, folks are saying this is very true. People just don't care, right? They've kind of lost their motivation to succeed. Someone said that they sit down to do work on an assignment on my computer and all they want to do is just close the computer. They know that they're struggling with attention because they keep their phone near them, and they can't keep track of, people can't keep track of assignments, even though they're typically usually very organized. So these were all great examples. Thank you so much, everyone, for being vulnerable and sharing. Okay, so why isn't my screen advancing? Okay, here we go. All right, so what are the consequences of inattention and lacking focus? Obviously, distractibility is one, right? Where you just are not able to keep your mind on one thing at a time. Procrastination emerges where you wait until the last minute to do something, okay? You become, and some of you've already addressed some of these consequences, right? Poor organization, right? Where you're forgetful, right? So if you're not remembering, if you're not attending to information, then you're not able to code that information into your memory. So therefore, you're going to forget to do some things because you're just not paying attention. Sometimes you can lose track of things, you can lose track of your belongings. How about you go to sit down to take a test and you've lost track of the calculator that you need to take the test? Okay. Not getting through tasks, unfinished, having a lot of unfinished tasks. And when that happens, when you have a lot of unfinished tasks, you risk becoming and feeling overwhelmed because you're not seeing things to its completion. And then things will build up. And then also there's this poor ability to sustain effort. So that means not just that you have to attend in the moment, but you have to sustain that over an hour while the professor is communicating with you, right? You might be good in that first 10 minutes, but 30 minutes into it, you're off to the races, zoned out, multitasking, doing everything but attending to the source. So how can we get better? How can we improve the focus during class? We're going to talk about during class and after class. So increasing your engagement with your professor and the class material is key. So to the extent that you follow along with maybe some supplementary materials that the professor has given you so that during the lecture, you are able to ask questions of the instructor. Hopefully your instructors are inviting you not only to ask verbally, but to ask the questions in the chat. That when you have group projects, don't just be a group member. Take the lead in the project, right? And that will help, and that you'll be forced to be engaged when you have to be the leader and you have to instruct other people what they need to do to contribute to a project. This is not as important in the virtual realm, but I understand there are some students who are attending class on campus in person. If you have a history of inattentiveness, in general, you just want to avoid those large lecture classes. You want to be in smaller classes so that you can increase your engagement and discourse with not only the professor, but with your peers in the class. If you're in those large lecture classes, your professor doesn't even necessarily know you're in the room. And so the tendency is for you to kind of drift off and, take your attention off of the lecture and wherever else it needs to go if you're actually in those large lecture halls. If you find yourself in those large lecture classes, try to position yourself as close to the center of activity as you can. Some professors teach from the front of the room. Then you sit in the front, right, and make eye contact with the professor. If it's one of those lecture spaces where the professor can move around, then try to position yourself in the center where you know that you're going to have some engagement. Try to seek projects that are multisensory, right? Projects that involve reading and writing and excuse me, using maybe tactile, maybe building things, creating something, making posters or what have you, because then you're engaging all of your senses. You want to try to take written or typed notes during the class lectures. So don't just sit and listen. When you sit down at your computer, have a paper and pen or a separate device that you are actually taking notes so that you are involved in whatever is being communicated to you. If you are on campus and in the classroom, avoid sitting near the windows and doors, because guess what? You're going to be looking outside. Beautiful day like today, you'll watch the squirrels chase each other, right? You'll watch the people walking down the halls. Maybe you'll even hear a conversation or two that you're interested in. Meanwhile, your focus is not on the lecture and it's on whatever is around you. So if you avoid those tempting places, you'll be less likely to be pulled in to those distractions. So, what are some tips for improving focus outside of your class? Know your own attentional stamina. Everybody's is different. Some people can sit down and study for 2 hours straight, right? Other people really can only focus for 60 minutes at a time. And so, if that's you, know yourself well enough to know that about yourself and actually set a little timer. Use one of those wonderful devices that you have, set a timer, and at 45 minutes or 50 minutes, set the timer to go off. And then you get up and do something physical, move around, take out the trash, fix a sandwich, get a glass of water, let the dog or the cat out, do something physical, okay? Go wash your face, put some water in your face, right? Try a new eyeliner or something, but just do something that's different than what you had been doing for the 45 minutes prior. Then sit back down and give yourself another 45 minutes. For some of you, it may just be 30 minutes that you can really do some sustained attention. That's important to know because if you don't do that and you push yourself beyond your attentional limit, then the time after that attentional limit is just wasted time because you're really not focusing. So you may as well not even be doing that studying at that point. Okay. So you want to schedule definitive start and stop times to complete tasks, such as studying, such as doing problems, but also for doing those other life activities that we have, right? Like washing clothes or cooking a meal, um, cleaning your room. Okay. So, for example, don't just say to yourself, this weekend, I'm going to wash a load of clothes because Friday night will come and you'll say, oh, I said I was going to do it this weekend. I got 2 more days. I'll do it tomorrow. Then Saturday night comes and you're like, well, the weekend's not over yet. I got tomorrow. And next thing you know, it's Monday morning and you haven't done it. So what you want to do is designate a specific time to get specific tasks done. Saturday at 12 noon, I am going to wash and fold my dark clothes. End of story. That's all you're going to do. Don't do anything else, just that. You'll feel such a sense of accomplishment when you finish. Using multisensory and multimodal methods of study is really key, and it might actually make your subject matters interesting for the ones that aren't so interesting. So, for example, getting some exercise in while you are listening to a lecture or audio tape book or a podcast, something that's related to what you are learning in class to kind of accelerate the learning and to enhance the content. Pairing visual cues with the audio instruction, right? So if your professor's PowerPoints are available, maybe pairing that with excuse me, some taped material so that you can actually see what the instructor is saying rather than just looking at the notes. Pair that with their voice. Or if you have YouTube videos that you can pull up that will explain the same content that you've learned in class. Physical, okay, so I can't see this because of this screen here. Oops, sorry. Study partners, right? So obviously you have to study 6 feet apart, but you can also get on a Zoom or a Google Hangout with somebody and just study with them, vocabulary words, concepts. You can verbalize them, or if you just kind of want the company, if you see another person's face on the screen, maybe you put your computer off and you 2 or 3 people agree, okay, we're going to spend 45 minutes reading this chapter. And after we read the chapter, we'll ask each other questions about it. So you're holding each other accountable as well. All right, so you shouldn't do any of this work without rewarding yourself for the work that you put in, right? That's so key. And it doesn't have to be anything that costs anything. It could be just that you give yourself a little back rub or something, or maybe you play with an animal, a pet that you have. Maybe you play solitaire or a game on your phone. Whatever you like to do that's rewarding for you, right? Maybe you go for a 4 mile run or something. You come back from, especially if you do something physical, you're going to come back. You may be, a little sore, but the endorphins will have been released and you will feel relaxed. And that is rewarding in and of itself. You want to remove yourself from known distractions, right? So you don't want to sit down and start to study for a biochem test in front of the final game of the NBA championship. That's just not going to be a good idea, because you're going to naturally be distracted by the television, right? And so anything that is a distraction for you, then you want to avoid it. Seems really like a simple thing to say, like doesn't even seem that it would be necessary to say, but it actually is, because sometimes the more obvious things are the things that you kind of tend to overlook. It's helpful sometimes to engage in your own self-talk while you are working through tasks. So what I mean by that is you just talk out loud to yourself. Now, if you're home by yourself, don't worry. No one will think that there's a problem. But sometimes working through a problem or reading something that you've written aloud helps you to stay invested and engaged. And you'll also catch mistakes as you read and you verbalize whatever you've put down in writing. Also, kind of exercise some compassion for yourself, right? These are very difficult times that we are living in. And you're not alone. And there are going to be days when you're not going to be the most productive. They're just going to be days like that. And you're going to have to just be okay with it, right? And tell yourself tomorrow will be a better day, and put the things in place so that you have a better day. If you are fatigued, if you are tired, take a nap, sleep, get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I know that's kind of like an oxymoron for college students, but sleep deprivation is a torture technique. You are sacrificing your ability to concentrate and pay attention if you have not gotten adequate sleep. That is a fact. Okay. So if you feel tired, that is not the time to try to sit down and pay attention to anything. Catch up on your sleep and then start again. So attention, having the ability to attend is a skill. Mindful meditation is one way that you develop that skill, which is the ability to focus on a specified thing for a specified period of time without judgment. This short video will show you how to engage in an attentional meditation where you teach yourself how to attend and stay focused. Okay, so let's see if we can attend to this. Sorry. Okay, let's try that again. I was trying to make it full screen.
Meditation is all the play of the attention. Disentangle the common thinking mind from attention. Bring attention under conscious control. This is meditation.
I may not be able to do it.
Hold the attention on one object out there in front of the eyes. Settle on the object through the sense of sight. The attention is fixed and still. If there's wavering, return to that one object. Notice the willfulness to continue. The quiet self, or truer self, appears more clear as the attention becomes still and fixed in one place. Now, in stillness, there is clarity. Focusing on an external object.
Oh, I'm sorry. This thing is sensitive. Okay, let's move ahead.
The quiet self, or truer self, appears more clear as the attention becomes still and fixed in one place. Now, in stillness, there is clarity. Focusing on an external object was simply to illustrate. There's no need to continue it further as a meditation practice. The real play of attention lies within. The attention can come to rest on the inner senses and the inner thought objects. The attention is the origin of the senses. Watching now the objects of the mind and the world all appear by way of the attention. Attention sees a thought rise in the mind. Linger for a while, and then fade away. The attention hears a voice inside. Linger for a while, and then just fade away. The inner landscape of the mind, each thought, is an object. For a time, attention is no longer pulled around from thought to thought.
I think you're muted, so we can't hear you.
Thank you. So I wanted to just share these resources with you. These are apps that will help you practice the skill of mindfulness and mindful attention. This little book has several exercises, but the apps are free. And so if you wanted to just take a picture of this so that you will have it for later, you can try out which one works best for you. So what are some additional tips? Yoga is a way to settle yourself, find your center, and kind of relax yourself so that you can stay focused and attend to things. It will help with any anxiety that you may feel. Of course, having balanced diets with fruits and vegetables is important. You know, avoiding the sugary things that are really great to eat, but probably not the best for attention because you're a little too hyper and revved up. I talked a little bit about getting adequate and restorative sleep, right? So if you're sleeping for 6 hours and you wake up and you're still not feeling rested, that's considered non-restorative sleep. And I would call someone at the counseling center to talk with them about that, or someone at the health center to talk with them about that. Because if you're sleeping for 6 hours straight, your sleep should be restorative. The sleep experts say that 6 to 8 hours is what we actually need in order to reset ourselves. Meditation apps like the ones that I just showed you are great to help with not only getting a good night's sleep, but training you on how to focus on one thing at a time. You can do that without apps. You can grab an interesting item, something that has a multi-sensory component, something maybe that you feel and you touch and you can smell, and just see how long you can attend to it, right? Try attending to it for a minute, then increase your time to 2 minutes and then 3 minutes and so forth. Exercise is key. Even if you can't get outside, getting stretch armbands and doing floor exercises, maybe turning on YouTube and doing some Zumba or other exercises with the instructor via YouTube. But try to get at least 30 minutes of some type of exercise in each day. So I wanted to share what else is in the Academic Success Series for those of you who may have an interest. The first Tuesday of the month, the presenter will be talking about time management. The second Tuesday of the month will be procrastination. I think I remember seeing something about that in the chat, so you may want to attend that one. And then successful study skills will be presented on the fourth Tuesday of the month. Remember that our counseling center services are free and confidential. So if you would like some one-to-one attention or you want to participate in one of our groups, you need to call the counseling center at this number. Take a picture of this screen if you don't have this information. The number is 301-314-7651. This number is available with a live person on the other end of the line 24/7. So Saturday at 8 o'clock at night, if you call that number, you will get a live person, okay? We are primarily only doing virtual sessions, such as this one in the counseling center during the pandemic, okay? What are the services that we have at the counseling center? Well, we do have workshop series, and these are things that meet mostly for 3 sessions, like mindful meditation. The anxiety toolbox gives you very specific skills on how to manage the physiological, emotional, psychological, and cognitive aspects of anxiety. Getting Unstuck teaches depression management skills. And I facilitate Wise Emotions, which is actually, we just started, but it is a 6-week series on how to gain some control over emotions when they seem out of control. There are several types of group counseling formats that the Counseling Center offers. The general interpersonal group process group, grief and loss group. During this time of pandemic, some of you may really be experiencing issues of grief and loss, and I encourage you to reach out and get some support there. Unfortunately, it is necessary that we have the sexual assault recovery group. We have anxiety and depression groups. We have groups for students who are struggling with their body image and have some appetite disturbance. Self-compassion, right? What are some ways that you can love yourself and be patient with yourself and kind to yourself? We have a group for that. And there are graduate student groups. We also have groups for students who are members of marginalized communities, such as African descent women. I facilitate the Circle of Sisters. We have the LGBTQ support group, the Latinx support group, and Dr. Collins runs an anti-racism group. That is a group for white students who really want to learn how to be anti-racist. If you are interested in individual counseling, you are entitled to up to 8 sessions in a year, in a calendar year. So when you schedule the intake by calling 314-7651, you and your intake counselor will decide what would be the best type of service for whatever your concern is. Okay? Here is our contact information. What questions do you have that I might be able to answer for you? I also want you to note the time for the Counseling Center. This year, during the pandemic, we are only open from 8:30 to 4:30, okay? If there's a question, let's see, I think if there's something in the chat, any questions, you can feel free. Oh, people were just telling me to unmute myself. Okay. Wanted to also share that in addition to the Counseling Center, Recwell is a place where you can go. I believe you make an appointment. They are doing COVID safe activities there. Okay. Behavioral Health Services is across the street from the Stamp. And in that building, there are psychiatrists in the behavioral health unit. So some people may need the support of a psychotropic medication in addition to the therapy to help restore their equilibrium from a chemical point of view. Health Services is also right across from the Stamp. And, if you, for example, want some help getting a more balanced and nutritional diet, there are nutritionists there. Remember, I started out by saying, you have to take care of your physical health. So women, if you have not had your annual exams, use the health services to do that. Get your flu shots. Make sure that your physical constitution is as cared for as possible, because you need your bodies to attend, and any illness that you have is going to affect your ability to attend. So it's very important to keep up your physical as well as your mental health. Can I entertain any questions? Oh, I got through that material a lot faster than I thought. I'm going to stop my share. And if you want to, so Lydia is asking to please fill out the survey before you leave. It looks like we lost a few people. So for the 13 of you that are left, please fill out the survey before you leave the Zoom meeting. Anyone else? You're welcome, Mauricia and Eves. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this session today. I hope you heard something that you can use. Thank you, Ashley. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see all of you who took your videos off. Okay, well, thank you, everyone.